Welcome to the Morrison Report. Hosted by Deval Morrison, sales representative for Bosley Real Estate Limited Brokerage. Ms. Morrison has co-authored the best-selling book, Success Today, with Brian Tracy, and has been interviewed on NBC, ABC, and CBS affiliates by Bob Guinea from The Bachelor. Deval, a real estate investor, has spoken to many attendees at her real estate seminars and is currently ranked in the top 5% of agents in her brokerage. Join me in welcoming your host, Deval Morrison.
Thanks so much for joining me today. Today I'm going to be talking to you about how to win a bidding war. It definitely is a very popular topic today in the Toronto real estate market. It's crazy, let's face it. We have bidding wars for houses where sometimes you're seeing somewhere between 9 to 20 people bidding on the same house. Everybody's got to have it. And it's funny because it's starting to happen with houses that you think, well, they're nice, but they're not that nice. Some of these houses are on major streets even. But the market has become so crazy right now that people do have to bid quite high in order to get the home of their dreams, really, and find a place to live. So one of the things I always suggest to clients in terms of how much they should spend on a house is, if I were to tell you tomorrow that you didn't get the house and you heard that that house sold for the price of X, what would you say is an okay number that you wouldn't lose your shit over it, basically, and think, oh crap, I would have been willing to pay that for the house. So whatever that magical, mystical number is, that's the number that I would say to people that they should be paying for a house. It's the price that you're not going to get too mad at yourself that you didn't pay that much for a house. Generally, right now in the Toronto market, houses are going between $200,000 and $300,000 over asking. So I recently had a client say to me their budget was $1.5 million, and I said, okay, so I'm going to send you some listings, but I want you to understand, I actually only want you to look at the houses that cost up to $1.2 million. Please don't look at houses that are $1.5 million, because I know that you're going to have to bid $200,000 or $300,000 over your asking price. And so I know if your budget is 1.5, then it's much safer if you look at 1.2 million. Or, of course, look at a house that's listed at 1.4 or 5 that isn't selling, it's sitting on the market right now. The other thing that we're seeing in the Toronto marketplace right now is bidding wars on condos. It used to be quite rare that people would set offer dates on condos. And now, because there is so little supply of condos on the market, we're finding that people now have to set offer dates for condos. I recently showed a condo to some clients in the Midtown Toronto area. It had an outstanding terrace, and it was listed around $450 or so. Well, it's funny. It didn't even actually make it to offer night. It got a bully offer on a condo, and it ended up selling for $520. So the market right now is very crazy because there's a lot of people who like where they live, and so therefore they're not selling where they live. And that could be their condo or their house. And because of the limited supply, it's really driving the market higher and higher. I generally tell clients you have to be aggressive to get the house that you want. And I know that people generally don't like to hear that they're going to have to fork out that much money over asking, but unfortunately that is what it takes right now to get the home of your dreams in this market, because unfortunately I've seen people, let's say in last year's market, say, oh no, this is too expensive, I don't want to bid that amount of money. Well, if they waited till spring, they would have had to bid at least $200,000 more just to get the same house they were looking at last fall. So unfortunately, the way that the market is that people do have to bid huge amounts of money to get what they want. So one of the things people always want to know is, how can they win in this kind of market? So one of the things that I would suggest is doing the bully offer. But you can't just do a bully offer on any old day. There's a whole math and psychology and critical thinking about this. So for example, if a house comes on the market on Monday and they're not taking offers until the following Monday, well, you can't just do a bully offer on that Sunday or that Saturday, because that house has now been exposed to the market for 6 days and people have seen it. And any decent real estate agent that gets a bully offer is going to automatically go out to every other agent who's already shown the property to let them know, hey, there's a bully offer. And so now you're effectively moving up the offer date. So the way to win that bully offer is, if that house goes on the market on Monday, you see it on Monday and you offer on it on that Monday. Or maybe you wait till the Tuesday morning or the Tuesday afternoon and then you offer on it. Because that way, fewer people have actually seen the house. So there's fewer people who can bid against you. This happened to me this March, for example, with some clients. I always pay a lot of attention to the MLS screen and exactly at what time houses get listed on the market. So I saw a house that I knew was going to be their ideal house. It was in the Yonge and Lawrence neighborhood, and it was listed, I think, for just under $1 million, so about $995,000 or $998,000. So I see it go on the MLS probably around 3 o'clock. I get the husband into the house at 4 o'clock. He loves it, wants his wife to see it. So his wife comes to see it around 5:30. We get her into the house. She loves the house. And so now a few hours later, now we have a bully offer. We've decided that we're going to offer on this house right now before they're taking their offers a week later. The other advantage that we had was it was Monday night, the first Monday after March break. So I figured that people would be so busy dealing with the fact that they just got the kids back to school, they just got back from vacation, that they wouldn't really be seriously looking at the market. And I was right. So we offered on the house. By Tuesday at noon, my clients got it because it turned out there was only one other person who'd seen the house and they offered on it as well. But my client's offer was stronger and they got the house. So that's definitely something that people have to do. If it's a house that they really want, they really have to get aggressive. And the same thing is happening in the condo market. So even if the condo hasn't set an offer date, I'm finding again, if that condo's gone on the market, you really need to get in that condo within the first 5 hours or 12 hours of it being on the market, because if you don't, everybody else has gone in to see the condo at the same time and they're going to offer on it faster than you can. So right now it seems to be, if there is not an offer date on condos, it's really all about speed and timing and trying to beat somebody else out in order to buy the same place that you want to buy. It's very tricky. And I mean, sometimes you do have those cases where there's only two of you offering on a house. You're going back and forth, going back and offering more and more on the house. And sometimes the sellers still won't even take either offer. That's happened to me a couple of times where, in my opinion, the sellers have been greedy, and that because they're reading about these crazy ass bidding wars in the market, they feel that their house deserves that same bidding war. And so instead what they do is, after they can't get the price of their house up high enough, they actually just pull it off the market and relist at a much higher price because they can't get the price of the house that they want, which I think is crazy because you've now wasted everybody's time in making people think that this house was actually viable and attainable for them. And then you've basically pulled the carpet out from under them, which I think is very dishonest. I don't like it when I see people doing things like that because they are, in effect, in my opinion, quite greedy. So the standard bidding war, the standard bully offer, or the standard sort of multiple offer situation. So the standard multiple offer situation, the way that it works is house gets listed on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, and you have about 6 to 7 days to view the home, and then they take offers. When they take offers, I would say it's better being done in an office versus being done at somebody's house. The reason why I say that is that it's better to remove the emotion from bidding on houses. And I find that it helps if it's done in an office. If it's in a house, everybody has a lot of emotion attached to it and tied to it. And you're really trying to pull the emotion out of this and make it something more logical. So I highly recommend that the multiple offers take place at an office space. So at an office space, everybody essentially waits their turn, goes in one by one. The real estate agents go and present to the listing agent and the sellers and tell them a little bit about their client, and then they walk them through what the offer is like. And then they go back out to the waiting room and everybody waits to find out whose offer was higher or lower. At that point, the listing agent will come back and tell the rest of the agents, listen, a couple of you are at the high end, so we're going to work with you guys to see if you would like to offer again. And then we'll tell the rest of the agents, you know what, your offers were not high enough. Thank you very much for offering tonight. See you later, essentially. And then you wait till tomorrow morning to find out how much over asking the house sold. And then in some cases, unfortunately, the house sold for well over what you thought it would. I was in a situation in Leslieville where the house was listed for $699,000. And essentially what happened with the house was that after we took a look at the offers, this house sold for $999,000. We were absolutely shocked. And, you know, what happened that particular night is the I guess the agent had shown up with this offer for $999,000. Oh, wait, actually, they didn't show up. They emailed the offer in, which to me is even more outrageous. They emailed their $999,000 offer in, and they didn't even have a check. Usually on offer night, you always have to be prepared with a bank draft, because if you don't, people don't take your offer seriously. And even if your offer is the highest, in some cases, they might not even take the offer because they don't know if you're actually going to follow through, or if you're going to return the check, bring in the check the next day, or if you're just going to pull out and say, hey, you know what? I changed my mind. I don't want the house anymore. And then it's a huge problem for the seller. So we were quite shocked at the time when we were waiting. We didn't know what the sale price was, but we were quite shocked that they were willing to take an offer where they didn't even have the check yet. Anyways, lo and behold, the next day I saw it sold for $999,000. The check came in, no problem, and I was shocked. And of course, I always wonder, how is that house going to appraise? Because, it's fine and dandy for someone to spend a lot of money purchasing a house, but if the house doesn't appraise, it's going to be a huge problem for them. So, that's part of what I say to clients too, is that you want to spend a decent amount of money on the house, but you don't want to spend a foolish amount of money on the house so that the next day when you talk to your bank and your bank sends over an appraiser, there's this whole other conversation that has to happen where the appraiser decides the house isn't really worth what you are willing to spend on it. And that really doesn't help anybody. I have a lot of people asking me, how can we correct this bidding war situation? Maybe we should have open offers so everybody gets to see what you're bidding with. I'm not sure if that necessarily would solve the problem. The other thing that people always say to me too is that they would prefer having a live auction. Again, so they can hear how much other people are bidding and that way participate in purchasing the house. My concern with having live auctions to purchase these kinds of houses is that I believe that people will get caught up in the emotion of it. They'll start to go, oh, well, if that person can afford to go higher, I should be able to afford to go higher too. And I think that they get lost in the emotion and the energy of the room of bidding on a house. The one thing I do like about the current situation with the multiple offers is that if people do have to come up with more money to spend on the house, they're not pressured, they're not forced. They literally get to walk away, think about it, call a mortgage broker, call a banker, call a parent, call a relative, call a friend, call anyone and have a calm, cool, and rational discussion about should they actually spend more money on the house. What I like about the current process is it lets logic play into it. They get to think about it. They don't have to make a sudden, rash decision. When you're in a live auction situation, there's no consulting with anybody. You've got to decide in 30 seconds whether or not you're going to add another $10,000, $20,000, $50,000, or $100,000 to the bidding. I think that's a huge concern to me when people are thinking of going into live auctions for the real estate market, because to me, then it really puts the emotion into it. And I know that people who say, oh no, I'm not going to get carried away, people will get carried away. And in fact, I think they'll start looking around the room going, oh, if that person can afford it, so can I. So I think that the market right now with the multiple offer situation is safer for buyers, even though I know they don't want to believe that it's safer for them, but I do think it's a little bit safer because now they have an opportunity to make a calm, cool, rational decision. Should they spend X more dollars on this house? One of the situations I've been in as well with clients is that you're going into a multiple offer situation, and so you need to be prepared, which means if you want to do a home inspection, getting that home inspection done before you put in the offer on the house. Oddly enough, I have been in the situation where a couple of agents have said, oh no, we don't want your client to be able to do a home inspection. In one case, they said, oh, well, the seller's already done a home inspection for you. Wrong. The thing is that when a seller does a home inspection, that certainly does not protect the buyer. The buyer needs to be able to go out and get their own home inspection and make sure that the house has everything that they need. And they need to be warned about things that might be bad in the house that they should know about. And the seller's home inspection is not going to give them that same kind of comfort. I had one situation a few years back where the agent said to me, oh, the seller's lived in the house for 30 years. It's fine. Your client doesn't need to do a home inspection. So in that case, what I did was I told the home inspector that he was going to be my client's, in quotes, friend. And I told him, don't show up with your ladder. Just show up with a couple of gadgets in your pocket and you're going to look like you're my client's friend, and I want you to walk around the house and let us know what's wrong with it. Of course, he did that. he brought in his little device that shows whether there's knob and tube. And of course, he plugged it into a lot of